Everybody loves a good pretzel, and I love sneaking them into the Disney parks. Cause I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm paying a premium every time I'm craving that soft, chewy pretzel. Today I'm gonna be showing you what to look for in a quality pretzel when you're out and about, and how to be the master pretzel baker at home. This video is packed with tips and tricks from your award-winning pastry chef, moi, for that pretzel game of yours to go to the next level. I'll even show you how to make an epic cheese sauce from scratch, not that artificial stuff you'll get at the parks. Before we get going though, make sure you hit that subscribe button and click the bell to help us get to our first 1,000 subscribers. Let's get going. Our journey takes us to Animal Kingdom, where we pick up a Mickey pretzel after getting, well, a little distracted.
You know where to find snacks? Can I get one Mickey pretzel and cheese sauce, please? How adorable is that? He's even smiling at me. Cheese sauce, or well, cheese flavored cheese. It's delicious. We're gonna eat it. So you have to dip pretzels in lye solution. Lye solution eats away at the dough, allowing for this chewy exterior. Now, I wouldn't call this like a super chewy exterior, but you know, they might have dipped this in maybe a baking soda and water solution, which is an alternative way of dipping a pretzel. It's very thin. Normally, I would expect this to be a lot thicker and a lot chewier per se. But of course, you can tell it was baked on a moving rack, which tells me this is probably mass produced and then warmed back up. We're just gonna go ahead and rip into it and see how the inside dough looks, because we wanna see that cell structure. Very dense cell structure. Not really a lot of proofing going on in this pretzel. We also have some cheese sauce. I have never made cheese sauce from scratch, but this says it's cheese flavored cheese snack something. I think I want to make a cheese sauce from scratch and see how it compares. I don't care if it's artificially flavored. It's delicious. Very gooey. Very like, we're at a fair. Overall, for a pretzel, it being so dense and the skin not being as thick as I want it to be, but it is warm. So even if I was to bring my own pretzels, I don't have a way of warming a pretzel up. I give it a 6 out of 10. Convenient, shaped like Mickey, so it's fun. But can we do better at home? You betcha.
Now it's my turn. Let's get baking. Let's gather our mise en place. That's French for ingredients. Wow, look at that Pillsbury Doughboy. I'm gonna be looking like him by the end of this recipe. We're adding our milk, our water, our honey. We're using the straight dough method, which means we put all of our liquids, fats, sugars, and yeast at the bottom of our mixing bowl. We're using activated dry yeast, and I always buy it in a pound because, well, you can keep it in a deli cup in the back of your refrigerator for up to 6 months, and it's cheaper that way. Now we add our dry ingredients on top, which include high gluten flour or bread flour in this case. We're sifting out our dry ingredients onto parchment using what's known as a tan marine. I think that's how I say it. We're using what I like to call the taco method, where I fold my parchment in half and plop it into my KitchenAid bowl. This is a way of pastry chefs getting flour around the kitchen without hopefully dropping it. Now we'll reuse that parchment later for baking our pretzels on because, well, it's still clean parchment. And we of course add our salt last. That's because you don't want salt to touch your yeast. Salt inhibits yeast growth, so make sure to put salt last when making your recipe. Pop on your dough hook because, well, I don't got the muscle structure to make this dough by hand. So I'm gonna use the handy dandy help of my KitchenAid mixer. That's from the 1980s and she's still running. Wow, look at her go. Now your dough's gonna look quite shaggy in the beginning, but just be patient. The straight dough method is about just putting those liquids, fats, and sugars at the bottom with yeast, dry on top with salt going in last. 3 minutes later on a low speed, well, it looks like a dancing octopus. Hey ya, look at those little arms. We're gonna pull what we call a window here. So I grab a little piece of dough, make a ball, flatten out the ball, and then, well, try to stretch a window. When you can stretch a window, this means your gluten structure is strong enough. If for whatever reason it tears and breaks, you're gonna wanna continue to mix that dough on the mixer for just a minute more. This is gonna make your gluten webbing stronger, and then you're gonna take that dough test once more, flattening out that little ball of dough, slowly stretching it out, and pulling it ever so gently to form a see-through window. This should look like a skin when you hold it up to the light, and well, this is beautiful. We're gonna take the dough off and allow that gluten structure to rest by just putting some plastic wrap to the top of the dough, and you'll see she's about to grow. Putting this dough to rest, it's like putting a nice little padded baby away. I spray the top with some pan spray, just like you put some baby oil on a child, and then tuck her in for bed. Ah, sleep, my little one, sleep. Ooh, look at that. She's risen and she says hello back when I push my finger into the dough. You can see she gravitates back towards me. Woohoo! That's my little dough girl. She's ready to come out of the bowl and onto the counter. I did spray my counter with some Pam spray so she doesn't stick to the counter. And yes, all of us pastry chefs do refer to our pastries as children. Well, because they're a labor of love. Let's be real. Pastry chefs don't spend 12 to 14 hours a day in the kitchen for nothing. All right, we're scaling out our dough at about 4 ounces of dough ball, and I've sprayed down some sheet trays with some baking spray and lined it with parchment. This is to prevent the parchment from moving around and annoying me, just like children do sometimes.
I'm gonna spray, and then I'm gonna line them up like little pretty army soldiers, but I have to get them into balls first. So we're just gonna do a circular motion like you're waxing the car. You're waxing your hands towards you in a circular motion. So one hand is going clockwise, one hand is going reverse clockwise. And that tightens the dough into like a little ball. In a production setting, we have a giant machine that you would just put a scaled patty on, and then you press the machine and they all come out rounded for you. You want a nice seamless skin with a little circular underbelly, like a belly button. We call that a belly button in pastry. Woohoo! Pillsbury Doughboy. I'm gonna spray the top so they don't form a skin. I'm gonna cover them and they're gonna grow.
As my one child suddenly turned into 20 individual children, it's like they're all waiting to see Mickey Mouse himself. I'm gonna draw a circle just to show you how big these balls are gonna get. Look at that, they almost doubled in size. That circumference is as big as the moon.
Grab one of our circles, our little fluffy circles, jiggle, jiggle, jiggle. And we're gonna go ahead and flatten that sucker out. So flatten, squish out all the air. Squish, 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 squish. All right, we wanna make these long pretzel sticks. And then we're just gonna fold the dough towards us. We're gonna taper the ends of that hot dog. And we're just gonna roll it to be a nice long stick from the middle out. Make sure we have an even shape throughout. We're gonna lift up our stick and place it seam down on the sheet pan. Squish, 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 squish.
Now what this does is create a nice tight outer skin. It gives the dough strength and builds a better cell structure throughout the proofing process.
You know, some people would want to skip the process that I just showed you and be like, well, why can't we just take a dough ball that's been proof and just take it and like roll it into a baguette shape? And like, of course you could do that, right? And you could just roll it into a baguette shape. But look at this outer skin. Look at that outer skin. There's like lines in it. You also didn't create like a structure, right? So now it's a little bit more flimsy. It's not as tight.
Look at that difference. A nice tight cell structure versus a loose one, and that looks wrinkly like an old grandpa waiting in a line at Disney World. He's dried up in the sun and definitely ready to have that beer later.
Both are acceptable pretzels, right? The important part is we made the dough from scratch. It's just, I'm showing you this way because this is gonna give you a really nice bite and mouthfeel. It's gonna form a really beautiful skin that's strong on the outside when we go to dip it in that lye. This might come out a little bit more dense, you know, when you go to bite into it, maybe not as aerated on the inside.
Now there are many different ways to make a pretzel shape. We're doing the traditional German pretzel shape where you have that beautiful twist in the center, but of course we can Americanize it and do the Annie Am's pretzels. By all means, whatever shape you would like to do at home, this is just my personal favorite. Play with the dough, make it a heart shape, make it just a twisted shape. Geez, turn it into a football for football Sunday. Either way, it's just a fun dough once you do learn how to make it, to make for snack night at home, or even game day, or well, just because you're craving pretzels. Pretzels, pretzels, pretzels. God, I love eating pretzels. Now these are gonna sit in our freezer for about 3 hours or overnight till they're rock hard frozen. We're gonna gather all of our finishing ingredients like our lye, salt, melted butter, and brown sugar and cinnamon. Now lye is technically a dangerous substance to work with. It's known as sodium hydroxide, and well, use gloves and a lot of precaution. Please adults, if you're making this recipe at home with your children, pretzels can be a lot of fun, but let the adults do this part. You're gonna wanna put on food safety gloves. You're gonna find this in the cleaning section of your supermarkets. Now add about an ounce or 2 ounces of lye into your bowl. We're using 2 ounces of lye and 2 quarts of water. For every 1 ounce of lye, it's 1 quart of water. Now you let that sit for about 2 minutes to make sure the lye dissolves into the warm water. You don't use hot water, use warm water. Now those suckers are hard as a rock. Let me bang it on my sheet pan just to prove it to you all. We're gonna drop in our frozen stick pretzels, and the warm lye water is going to eat away at that outer skin.
Put 2 at a time, because that's all that'll fit in my bowl. And get about a 10-second dip. I'm gonna pull it out and put it right there. All right, so I'm gonna take it out, about 10 seconds. Just put it on my sheet tray.
1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi. A genuine 10 seconds. It's super important that the lye eat away at that outer skin, so please count your 10 Mississippis properly. Now we're gonna cut up these chunks so we can make little bite-sized pretzels. Oh, look at those little suckers. We're gonna drop them back in for a second bath in the lye, and those are gonna be chewy and delicious all the way around. I'm using a miniature cupcake pan to make sure that they bake evenly and in even sizes.
So these ones, I didn't have enough space in my freezer for all of them, so these sticks that I just cut apart, you can see they're a little bit more fluffy. They've been proofing in a refrigerator because they'll still proof when they're in the refrigerator. Just know that if you don't have space in your freezer, you can put them in the fridge overnight. It's just they are still gonna proof in the fridge overnight. That's why these are substantially bigger than these. These are frozen, these are not. It's just 2 days shelf life in the fridge because it'll still proof. 3-week shelf life in the freezer because you've halted the proofing process, which essentially is yeast eating sugar and farting. You're not gonna cover them or do anything to them. You're just gonna let them sit out like this, and you're just gonna let them proof. We can put salt on them now, so I'll do that. I'll take my gloves off.
We're gonna use thick, coarse sea salt, or just thick, coarse salt, whatever you can find at the supermarkets. And you're gonna wanna sprinkle it on, yes, before baking, while that lye is still wet. This will allow the salt to completely stick to the pretzel, and well, I wanna see what those other shapes are gonna bake off as, so we're gonna dip those in lye as well, and bake those off with a little bit of sea salt too. Ugh, look at those beautiful German pretzel shapes. Das ist gut.
I'm gonna make our cinnamon sugar for our cinnamon sugar pretzels. So I just have some raw sugar you buy from the Spanish markets. I don't wanna use white castor sugar. I wanna use basically unbleached. And just cinnamon sugar, very easy. Put as much or as little cinnamon as you want. I'm just gonna mix it up with the sugar.
Now we're gonna collect those ingredients for our cheese sauce, including some paprika, salt, butter, a little cornstarch flour, some smoked cheddar, and some sharp cheddar. I'm gonna start grating my cheese. This block of cheese has been in the freezer for about 5 hours, so this will make it an easier time for me to grate on my microplane. You can use a traditional cheese grater. This just happens to be the only one I own. Now I did want additional flavor, which is why I chose a smoked cheddar, but by all means, if you're feeling fancy and want to splurge on a nice Gruyere cheese or a hard smoked aged Gouda, that sounds delicious as well. Now we're gonna scale our cornstarch and of course our milk, which we'll divide in several increments. We're gonna start by adding the butter, cornstarch, and flour in the pan. This is so we can create a roux, and I'm just seasoning it with some red chili and paprika, onion, and garlic powder. If you don't want those seasonings, don't feel like you have to add them. I'm just a spicy gal. Now we're making that roux by melting the butter and adhering it to all of our dry ingredients. We're gonna slowly add in our milk so that we can make that nice thick roux. Roux is basically a mixture of flour that you're cooking down with some fats and liquids in order to break down the starches. No one likes the taste of just uncooked flour and cornstarch, so we have to break those sugars down by cooking them out. This high temperature of cooking a roux is what allows for the soft mouthfeel and allows the cheese to bind and be gooey. Break down those sugars, break down those sugars, break down those sugars with that whisk. Wow, look at that beautiful smooth roux. We're gonna go ahead and add in our extra milk and our cheddar cheese with our smoked cheddar cheese. Whisk away, and of course we're gonna need that last remaining bit of milk to make it the thinned out fluid consistency that we're looking for. Now of course everyone's used to cheese sauce being that artificial yellow. We're not artificial here, so yes, it's gonna look like a blonde cheese sauce, but that just tells you it's natural. Do you guys really like the artificial coloring? Because I sure don't. It makes my ADHD go wacky. Wow, look at that thin, beautiful cheese sauce, ever flowing and ever delicious. We're gonna score our pretzels now that they've proofed with an X-Acto blade, and as soon as they come out of the oven, they get brushed with butter, and for those of you who like it, rolled in some cinnamon and sugar. Butter me up, baby. Keep the butter flowing on my pretzel. Cover me in cinnamon sugar, and well, call me one happy gal. Oh, look at that pretzel, ever gleaming, ever browned, ever delicious. Oh, our beautiful charcuterie board of pretzels wouldn't be complete without those little munchkins, and I'm gonna get them all buttered up and ready to go in a bowl. Who's ready to hike these suckers into your mouth? Oh, look how squishy they are. Beautiful and fluffy, not dense at all. You can see that beautiful circular aerated cell structure with the skin on the outside. Now that's what I call a from scratch pretzel. Oh, look how buttery they are, stacked to perfection, and with a side of cheese sauce. I'm pretty sure someone's hubby wubby is gonna love these. Oh, that crackling on the outside of that German pretzel is from the reaction of the sea salt and the lye bubbling away in the oven from all those beautiful yeast farts just farting their delicious sugar. Num 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 num. Oh, I'm getting so razzle dazzled I can't even say my lines properly. Oh, I just want to eat a pretzel. Oh, beautiful pretzel, please come to me. Yes, dip it in that cheese sauce. Oh, yes, you're mine. Biting into it, I feel like, well, I've entered in on a whole new world.
Cinnamon sugar pretzel, 10 out of 10. Chewiness, bubbly, oh so sweet.
I make love to my pretzel.
So good. You wanna bite it?
Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and hit that bell. Most importantly, follow for more pastry fun.